What's up guys, welcome to another EV3 programming tutorial. So today we are going to be talking about the flow control weight icon. So the weight icon is one of the most useful icons for programming your EV3 because this involves not just the weight icon itself, but it involves all the sensors where your robot needs to react to and needs them to wait and react according to the sensors. Okay, you'll know what I'm talking about in a while. So first off, it seems pretty generic and pretty simple. When you drag it out from the flow control, there's only a seconds and a time indicator. So the seconds, this icon basically allows us to wait for a couple of seconds before moving on to the next icon. For example, if we do something like this, let's say we will ask a motor A on for degrees. Okay. So let's say we program the motor to move for 180 degrees, and if you put 3 seconds, you will wait for 3 seconds before proceeding to the next icon. So let's say minus 180. So it will spin 180 degrees, wait for 3 seconds, and then it will spin the opposite direction of another 180 degrees. So it will go back to the original position. So it's useful if you want your robot to hold on for a couple of seconds. You can even put decimal points, I believe, 3.5 seconds for example. So very useful in that. So the time indicator can be clicked, and this will give you access to a whole variety of sensors and whatnot. So let's have a look at them one at a time. So brake buttons, color sensor, gyro sensor, infrared sensor, motor rotation, temperature sensor, timer, touch sensor, ultrasonic sensor, energy meter, NXT sound sensor, messaging, and the time indicator. So currently, by default, it's always in time indicator, so you can change to color sensor, for example. So how do you use this? So always go to compare color. So then your sensor will compare for that color and will react accordingly. So let's have a look at an example. So let's say your robot has one motor, port D. So when you use a sensor and you want your robot to react to the sensor, you need to set to either on or off, usually on. Okay, so you want to set the motor to on. So by setting the motor to on, it will on forever until the sensor at port 3, in this case the color sensor, detects red color, and then you can give it a set of instructions on what to do next. So you can't put on for seconds, on for degrees, or on for rotations. It doesn't work. You put this, then this icon serves no purpose. So this motor will spin for a specific of 1 rotation, and then the icon serves no purpose. So ideally you want the robot to on. For example, let's say your task is your robot moves forward until it detects yellow color, for example. Okay, so in that case, let's see. So we have yellow color. So just take yellow color, and then after it detects yellow color, it stops. It stops moving. So just set to off. So here is one good example of how to use the color sensor. Alright, so the same thing applies for the other sensors as well. So we can use the color sensors function for reflected light or ambient light as well. So if we set to reflected light, you can see you can measure a threshold value of equals to, not equal to, greater than or equal to, less than, and less than or equal to. So let's say you want a specific value equal to 66, for example. So this robot will keep moving until the light sensor detects a value of exactly 66, and then it will stop. So it's the same concept for greater than or less than. So if I set less than 66, so if the measured value is, let's say, 65, 64, or anything below 66, then the robot will stop. Okay, so the concept applies the same for the rest of this as well. So brick buttons has the same function, so you can compare brick buttons. So this will compare of what buttons are pressed. So basically all of these things here are physical things with the exception of timer, I believe. So for example, we can choose nothing, left, center, right, up, or down. So if we select up, so up button is either released, pressed, or bumped. So usually we select pressed. So Moto D will keep moving until someone presses the EV3's up button, and then it will stop moving. Alright, so I'll give you a couple of examples. Let's say gyro sensor. Okay, so if we are measuring an angular rate, it's the same thing. Motor rotation, same thing. Compare degrees, rotations, or current power. If it detects certain amount of this, and then it will stop. Timer, same thing. Timer is usually used to time a certain amount of a specific amount of timeline, specific amount of time in seconds usually. So touch sensor. The touch sensor is usually quite easy to use. So there's only released, pressed, or bump. So for example, robot moves forward until the sensor is pressed, and then it will stop. So for example, if you are making a robot, an obstacle detecting robot, where you mount the the touch sensor directly in front of the robot. It's like a bumper for the robot. So the robot will just keep going until the sensor pressed something, and it will stop. So that's one way to go about it. So ultrasonic can be used for the similar function, because it can detect anything within certain centimeters or inches. So a very common obstacle detecting robot would be to mount either an ultrasonic or a touch sensor. So if I do something like this, for example, let's say, then I will reverse. So for example, robot moves forward until it detects something within 50 centimeters. So anything closer than that, it will start reversing for 3 seconds. So this is one more example. So obviously you have to make sure that the port is correct, is set accordingly. If your touch sensor is connected to port 1, make sure that this is set to port 1. Alright, there's energy meter. There's NXT sound sensor as well, which is cool. So you can, EV3 doesn't come with any sound sensor, you can still use the NXT one. You can make awesome projects with it. Okay, so you can make it detect something of a different sound level, either in decibels or dBA. Alright, so if it's a threshold value louder than or softer than certain amount, then it will react to it. Messaging and time indicator. Alright, so that's it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll try to give more examples in the future. Stay tuned for more upcoming videos. See you guys in the next one. Bye.